So today, let's talk about the Aravalli Range. Now, this is one of the oldest mountain ranges on the entire planet. We're talking older than the Himalayas. For literally billions of years, it's been the natural shield for northern India. But now, it's up against a whole new kind of threat. And it's not dynamite or bulldozers. It's just a simple change in a definition that could make these ancient mountains just vanish. Okay, just imagine this for a second. What if a new law declared that to be officially considered a human being, you had to be at least 6 feet tall? Anybody shorter? Well, sorry, you just don't count. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? Well, a shockingly similar kind of logic is now being applied to these mountains. And this, right here, is the heart of the whole issue. There's a new rule, which the Supreme Court has accepted, that says a hill is only really part of the Aravalli Range if it's at least 100 meters high. So what if it's 99 meters? Well, then it's no longer an Aravalli Hill. It's just a piece of land, basically open for business.
So you see, this isn't about natural forces slowly wearing down stone over millions of years. This is about a legal redefinition on a piece of paper that could wipe entire mountains off the map, opening them up to mining and real estate. So how on earth did this happen, and what does it mean for millions of people?
All right, first, let's break down what this new rule actually says and why it puts such a vital living ecosystem in so much danger.
Now, here's the kicker. If a hill doesn't meet this 100-meter height requirement, it loses its protected status under India's Forest Conservation Act. That legal shield that has kept it safe for decades, it just evaporates. And that effectively gives a green light to miners and developers. And the impact of this is, well, it's staggering. According to the Forest Survey of India, only about 8.7% of the Aravalli Hills are actually taller than 100 meters. This means that with the stroke of a pen, a whopping 91.3% of the entire range is no longer officially Aravalli and is now completely vulnerable. Let's put a hard number to that. Out of 1,281 hills that were surveyed, this new rule disqualifies 1,133 of them from protection. We're not just talking about a few small hills here and there. We are talking about the vast majority of an entire mountain range. So why does losing all these hills matter so much? Well, it's because the Aravallis aren't just a random collection of rocks. They are a living, breathing, natural shield for northern India. And taking them apart piece by piece could set off a massive ecological catastrophe. If over 90% of this range is opened up to destruction, experts are warning of 4 major disasters. First, the Thar Desert could start spreading. Second, vital wildlife corridors could collapse. Third, a huge water crisis could be ignited. And fourth, air pollution in one of the most polluted regions in the world could get much, much worse. Let's start with desertification. The Aravallis basically act as a giant green wall, and they are holding back the Thar Desert from expanding eastward. They stop sandstorms and hot, dry winds from just sweeping into Delhi, Gurugram, and Uttar Pradesh. If you start dismantling that wall, hill by hill, there's going to be nothing left to stop the desert. Next up, the water crisis. You see, the forests and the fractured rock of the Aravallis, they act like a giant sponge. They soak up all that monsoon rain and then slowly release it back into the ground, recharging the aquifers that supply water to millions of people. Now, if you replace that sponge with waterproof concrete, you get a double disaster: flash floods when it rains and severe droughts the rest of the year.
And third, you've got air pollution. The range is essentially a giant air filter for the whole region. Its forests are like a wet cloth, trapping dust and tiny PM 2.5 particles from the desert winds before they ever reach the big cities. Removing these forests would be like ripping the filter out of an air purifier for millions of people.
But wait, the story gets even more complicated. The problem isn't just the 100-meter number itself. The real issue, you could even call it a deception, is hidden in how that 100 meters is actually measured.
So this is where it gets really clever, in a pretty concerning way. Globally, scientifically, height is always measured from a fixed universal baseline, mean sea level. It never changes. But this new Aravalli rule says to measure from the surrounding land, a term that is completely undefined. And this creates, well, a dream loophole for developers. To disqualify a 103-meter hill, all they have to do is dump about 5 meters of construction debris at its base. Suddenly, the surrounding land is higher, the hill is now officially 98 meters tall, and poof, its protection is gone.
Now, this new rule didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's actually the latest shot fired in a conflict over the Aravallis that has been raging for more than 30 years. Let's just quickly walk through the history here. The fight really kicked off back in the 90s. There was a huge real estate boom, which created this massive demand for stone, and that led to widespread illegal mining. Activists took the fight all the way to the Supreme Court, which over the years put in more and more restrictions. And finally, in 2009, a complete ban on mining in the Haryana Aravallis. But that pressure from development and mining never really went away.
And the stakes here are unbelievably high. This isn't just some theory. In parts of Rajasthan where protections have failed in the past, 31 hills weren't just damaged, they were completely mined out of existence. They were leveled into flat land. Entire mountains just vanished forever.
So, where does that leave us today? The whole situation is incredibly complex. You have the Supreme Court trying to find some kind of middle ground, and it's left environmentalists with a little bit of cautious hope and a whole lot of deep-seated fear.
So, while accepting this very controversial 100-meter definition, the court also hit pause on any new mining leases. They've put a temporary ban in place, and that ban stays until something called a Management Plan for Sustainable Mining, or MPSM, is created. The idea is to scientifically map the whole range and mark out strict no-go zones.
But here's the catch. Environmentalists are really worried that history is about to repeat itself. You see, a very similar plan was tried for Jharkhand's Saranda forest. Initially, 80% of that forest was declared a no-mining zone. But later on, under government and corporate pressure to get to the iron ore, those protections were rolled back. So the fear is that this Aravalli MPSM is a kind of Trojan horse, a plan that looks great on paper, but that will slowly be weakened over time until the mountains are wide open for business.
You know, a building can be rebuilt, but a 2.5 billion-year-old mountain range cannot. This entire controversy really boils down to just one question. Can a number, written on a piece of paper, be enough to erase a geological marvel that has protected a subcontinent for eons? The entire future of northern India's ecological security might just depend on that answer.